Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast that every 2 weeks we discuss an anime that we've recently watched. We go through theories and plots and characters. We talk like we're a book club, and then we turn our discussion over to our comment section, to you, to join in, to fill us in on what we missed, or tell us why we're wrong. That is the concept of this podcast. Thank you for listening. And today we are discussing Season 1, an older anime, Season 1 of The Devil is a Part-Timer. We're going to be watching Season 2 in our next podcast episode, much more recent, but we wanted to get the full Season 1 before we went to that. And to discuss it, I need the help of my co-host. First off, he's the secret sauce to my Big Macs. It's Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, we've actually pretty close to made that at home now. It's so good. Like, mix up tartar sauce, basically, ingredients. Yeah. Good stuff. So now you're making me want to have a Big Mac. Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
You'll have to head on down to McDonald's.
I know, right? But don't stop at the Kentucky Fried Chicken. God, I loved what they did with that. They had such funny ones. The jungle.
Not there yet.
No.
Come on!
So what have I been up to? RimWorld Biotech. That has been my my entertainment for the last couple of weeks. Haven't been able to play it the whole time, of course, because it just came out not that long ago. But it's really cool. It adds a lot of really fun features. So right now I've got this. I started with just a single character. He's called a Mechanitor, and he basically controls mechanoids, which are like these robot enemies that come and attack your people every now and then, right? And so he's got his own. And so essentially you have a little automated colony. Instead of having to worry about people, you just have one dude, and he gets this bonus because his trait is like being a recluse. So he's super happy to be out there all by himself. And he's got a whole bunch of little robots running around and helping him. But the number's not infinite, so eventually you do have to get some people. And right now I've got 2 little kids. One of them is like a long-tailed Wookiee guy, because that's part of this mod too. And the other one is like a universal soldier child he like heals really, really fast, so he's my child soldier. I gave him a light machine gun, and he runs around and defends us.
I'm
very
curious how recluse dude with a bunch of robots got his hands on 2 children.
Well, they showed up with a group of refugees, and we took the refugees in, and I said, boy, I haven't investigated the child mechanics yet in this game. I'm going to accuse the children of doing something so that I can arrest them. So I turn my guy into like the boss of my faction, and he gets the ability to accuse someone, which means I can then arrest that person and not have any negative consequences. So I did that, and I got one of the kids.
I'm so sorry I asked.
I know. And then the other kid decided, I don't know, maybe he thought, hey, you got my friend, I'm going to stay here too. So now I got 2. Plus, there was another refugee group where one of them was a pregnant lady, and I'm like, hey, I haven't investigated the giving birth mechanics yet. Accuse. So she's a part of my colony now too, and my recluse isn't super happy because he's got like way too many people. But I'm really happy because this is cool. There's a lot of interesting new features to explore. You should get RimWorld Biotech. It's a lot of fun.
Just don't start making hats.
No. Well, actually, the main guy, I made sure that he was a cannibal, and one of the boys, as soon as he hit like 11 years old, what was it? No, it was 10 years old, and he goes through a growth period where he gets to choose a trait, and cannibal came up in the list, and I'm like, yup. So he's a cannibal too. So the 2 of them are like dealing with all the bandit bodies, and then going through the food paste machine, and everybody else gets regular.
Wow. Okay.
It's a fun colony.
Next up, we have the tartar sauce to my fish witch. It's Jason. How you doing?
Fantastic. I did. I was waiting for the new Modern Warfare to land because I finished the campaign, so I loaded up. The War of the Chosen has a long war. I didn't realize that, so I got to try that out for a bit. But in between then and now, after I watched this anime, I watched season 4 of Overlord. It's the power fantasy anime that I love. There's some really great beats. There is one scene that just Jeremy you would adore.
Really?
Because I can't tell too many details because it'll spoil a bit. But basically, Ainz grabs somebody and looks him in the eye and said, "If this was any other story, your heart and righteousness would be so large that you'd be able to vanquish me. But this is reality." And then just throws him against the wall.
Oh.
He's like, "And this is where you die."
Oh. See, and that's why I gave up on that anime, because I'm like, I can't root for the bad guys. So
And
painful.
actually, what season 4 does is it's a really cool exploration into the idea of altruism and utopia by any means necessary. And it goes down a real dark path. And
You'd have to.
right?
Yeah.
And there's one scene where he sends Shaltir to go subjugate these bad guys because these bad creatures are causing havoc, and it's awful. It's just so awful because they stick with that whole power level of these guys at Nazarick are just, they're all overpowered, right? Especially Shaltir. And so yeah, I thought the storytelling was really spot on. The lessons they're trying to learn, and also like the main character, the light in the back of Vines, is learning some hard lessons about leadership. And yeah, I liked it. It was good.
Cool. My name is Troy, and I showed my son one of my favorite movies. And it was spoopy time. It was Halloween time, so I showed him The Mummy because that's not really a horror movie, but it's close enough that I can say you're watching a scary movie, and he feels all brave. Long live Brendan Fraser. That movie holds up well. That movie's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got myself addicted to Marvel Snap, the new phone card game that came out. It's all the hotness. It takes everything about Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering. It just makes it better and smarter and well functioning. Games take 3 minutes. You're not never waiting for your opponent's turn because you take turns at the same time. You only play like 6 hands, so you're not in long games. They're building up huge combos. There's just little quick combos. There's locations, so it's always a little bit different every time that you have to adapt to. It is a collectible card game, so it comes with some predatory territory, like they all do. But it's better than most. You can't directly buy cards at all. You upgrade your cards, which gives you points, and those points earn you more cards. You can spend money to upgrade your cards, but it's really, even that's slow. It doesn't do a lot, so the whales just don't get a huge bonus for existing. But yeah, it's been a blast.
So how do you make a game for ADHD people? This.
Yeah.
TikTok for card games.
It is. But like, there's a ton of just clever design of like looking at how everyone else does something and being like, oh, we can do that smarter. Like I read this whole thread about we got rid of the mulligan rule, and people were like, no, we have to mulligan. We have to mulligan. It's a card game. You have to be able to draw your hand, not like it, and put it back. They're like, no, we don't want you to mulligan. Get into the game. Start playing. So they added into your starting hand when you start playing the game, some of the free cards you get, Quicksilver, who his ability is he just always shows up in your opening hand. He's a level 1 card, so you always have a card you can play in your first hand. And then most players get rid of him, but then you've made the choice to have a deck that doesn't let you have an opening play because you realize it's not that important. But so they didn't need to do the mulligan, and no one's ever asked for a mulligan since they added that one card, even though no one uses that card anymore. It's just little clever stuff like that. It's very, very well functioning.
It's like psychologically getting people past the point of like your expectation,
right?
Because you're so ingrained in this is how you play games like this. You're not going to get past it. That's cool.
You can just see that. You can see that they looked at how everybody was functioning and was like, we're going to make this micro 3 minutes, ADHD friendly for that TikTok crowd. And it works. And it is a blast to play when you're got to go to the bathroom. All right. Let's talk about the anime. Again, this is the first season of The Devil is a Part-Timer that we are discussing. And this was Jason's pick. So, Jason, what did you think of this first season?
I adore this anime. I have very fond memories of it. And what's really funny is that there's like 4 episodes that I clearly do not remember. So I'm actually kind of glad I went back to watch this. But I loved it even more now than I did back then. The comedy stands up to the test of time. The storytelling is not heavy, but it's interesting. And I just love this idea that we have this reverse isekai of mundane, normal things being novel to people that are not of this world. And and it all lends to really great comedic moments. And yeah, I love the fake intellectual property, Mig Ronalds and Kentucky Fried Chicken. I love it. That's so great. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this anime. If you haven't seen it before, totally worth a watch.
Jungle.jp.com.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, Jeremy, what did you think of it?
I was surprised at how much I liked it. I didn't expect to like it that much. I remember when I watched it before, I stopped after like 3 or 4 episodes because, it wasn't part of the show, so I didn't have to finish it, and it didn't pass my 3-episode thing. But I found that to be really interesting because it really picks up after about 4 or 5 episodes is where I would say it starts getting really good. And I think it's probably because with me, the central conceit is not quite clear. Like I have to use a bit of headcanon in order to justify some of the decisions made for the story to exist. And that's kind of a little bit of a, I don't know if it's that they've dropped the ball or that they have so much larger of a story to tell that it's going to come in later seasons. But that's one area that I do think even now I'm still a little bit critical of. But overall, I found it to be very entertaining. I enjoyed the characters. I thought it was funny. The comedy's on point, lands really well. And the characters are, they're great. So I would also recommend it. Just make sure you don't stop after the first 3. If you think, oh, this is just going to be slice of life, there's a lot of slice of life, but it isn't just going to be that. There will be enough action.
Yep.
First disagreement.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of those.
We'll get into the action. We need to talk about the action. We'll get there in the spoiler section. No spoilers yet. We've all seen this before, and I remember it very fondly, and I very much enjoyed my time with it. Again, it is charm in anime form. It is very charming. I love the character interactions. It works very well for me. There is a little bit about what Jeremy's saying about like there's consequences to certain actions. There's things to think about, and it's hard to know if it wants to care about those or not. It's not quite as lighthearted as say like the Sleeping Princess in the Demon Castle, right? Where like, oh yeah, this doesn't matter. Everything's just silly. Who cares? Is the devil evil? It doesn't really matter.
Stuffing for my pillows.
This has like some emotional weight and people trying to have character arcs and having character arcs. So it's hard to know like how seriously do I take it, and that is where I did get caught this time, but it didn't ruin my enjoyment at all. I had a lot of fun watching. So, what did you think about the OP and the ED?
I really had a bit of an issue with the voice this time. Which I don't usually complain about that, but the singing voice in the ED especially, that was very grating on my ears. I'm sure it's fine for a lot of people, but boy, that it bugged me a lot. I liked the difference between like the ED in the first 5 episodes versus what it becomes from that point on. Because with the first 5 episodes, you just have basically a shot, an image that it's panning up. But then for the remaining episodes, you get a lot more shots that it's panning around, I guess. But yeah, it was the OP was definitely a good introduction to a lot of the characters. I was wondering about the role some of them were going to play. There's a little quick barrage of side character images that I actually went back and I had to pause it and go through them and take my time to be like, okay, do I recognize them? And I was really wondering like how much of a role these side characters were going to play because I mean, granted it's very quick, so that seems to be an indicator that maybe it's not going to be a huge role, but there's enough portrayal of perhaps their role that they're going to play in the story and how they're going to affect the story and the characters in it, that I was very curious about that. So it was pretty cool. Like one of the characters, especially the landlady, I'll say, but she looked very sinister, and I was like, is this gonna pay off in some way, or is this just like her character, but isn't going to be visible in the story? So that was kind of cool. It was like a little breadcrumb, maybe.
For me, I found OP delightful and the ED mostly boring. The OP I just felt did a good job of the opening, setting the tone. Like this is fun, this is lighthearted. Here's a character flying through the air. The ending with the static images of a character just doing poses.
Yeah.
All right. and we need to talk about that character, and I'll share why I was like, this is boring.
It's his favorite character.
Clearly my favorite character.
I echo a lot of what Troy was saying, that the OP was much more interesting than the ED, both visually and musically. But they weren't my favorite part of the show.
I was curious because it seemed like in the OP, especially with the last shot, isn't it the last shot of the OP or is it the last shot of the ED where it's got like the little girl holding a pillow and like crying? Is it the OP or the ED that's doing that? It never paid off, is what I'm trying to say. Like it seemed like there was a really heavy weight there, and I was trying to figure out, okay, where does that play in? And I'm even having a little bit of trouble identifying who that was. I think it's Emmy, but I'm not 100% sure. So that was kind of weird.
Pretty sure it's Chiho because I think that same pillow shows up in the ED when she's all but naked on a dock.
See,
hugging the same exact heart pillow.
I considered it being her, but the bangs just don't look right. The bangs are so short, and they've got that weird funky cut. But maybe that's what her bangs were when she was younger or something. You think it's her right now? It would fit
the character for the character's backstory, though. You're right.
Right. I don't know. I just don't think that landed very well because I can't figure out what it was after watching the full season.
All right. So before we go to the spoiler section, just know that we're watching part 2 of this, the second season, which was made by a new studio, and I don't know how many people are going to have new voices.
I think I read somewhere that the old cast is coming back for a reprisal of their roles.
I do know that season 3 has been announced, so there's even more coming.
Sweet.
We are going to be watching season 2, but this again just about season 1. So we're going into spoilers of season 1. We haven't seen season 2, so we're gonna make like predictions that seem really stupid to those of you who are caught up.
Baka predictions.
I mean, it probably seems stupid even if you're not caught up. Let's be fair.
Did you guys even watch it?
We've had that before.
Right.
Fairly. I mean, fairly. Like, maybe we didn't. All right, so spoiler section. So we're dropping the spoiler warning from now on. Spoilers are on the table. Thank you. Appreciate the help. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so this anime starts in a fantasy world that looks like a compass, from what I got from the narrator, who talked
Yeah.
very quickly, and I couldn't keep up with my notes. And I'm like, I know this doesn't matter. I need to spend more time thinking about McDonald's than I do about this fantasy land. Well, basically, Satan, the demon king, is attacking the human world with his army, trying to commit genocide. From what we can tell from the narrator, is my impression. And then a hero has arisen and has a team of champions that is battling back, and we see this big final battle happen between them. We see eventually Satan lose to the hero, and him and his top general flee through a portal and vow to return. And then the anime starts properly with our two main characters standing in Tokyo, Japan with almost no magic and no money and having to figure that out. And so these two main characters, there is Satan, who changes his name to Sadao Mao, who will be called Mao. What do we think of Mao?
I absolutely love this character. He's he's got these grandiose visions and ideas when he's completely powerless, and it's really entertaining to watch because he went from I'm a demon king to rule the world to now I'm going to rule this world through corporate might because I need to work my way up from fast food. And it really lends itself to being like Jeremy said, or like Troy said in the beginning, really charming. He's very much, and the thing is, Jeremy made some good points about like the tone shift here seems odd because we see him care very much about the people underneath him, his um like his troops, if you will. He also doesn't use magic unless it's to assist or defend. And he claims about being this evil ruler that he's going to go back to Ente Isla to rule over, but it seems he has no intention of leaving Earth. So there's some give and take there, but his performance from the moment to moment storytelling is top notch. I love watching him.
Yeah. The first thing I've got to say is that this is the loosest interpretation I've ever seen. Maybe there's some looser ones out there somewhere, but this is the loosest interpretation I've ever seen for these, Christian demons like Satan,
Right.
Lucifer, and Alciel. Absolutely hysterical to me because the moment that I got to see like the role these characters play, the way they interact, their backstory, and everything, I was like, okay, this has absolutely no connection. Like this is nothing but the names, basically.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was kind of happy about that. but especially with this character, like if you look at the way that other characters refer to the things that he's done as the Demon Lord, they're atrocities. They're absolutely indefensible, horrible things. Like you were saying, looks like genocide, right? And so we never really get an answer as to why his character is so different now that he's a human. The question is even posed, and his answer is just, "Oh, I guess I never looked at it that way," meaning I didn't see it as atrocities that I was hurting people. And I suppose that, like I was saying before, if you want to in your headcanon, you can explain that away as he's a human now. He's even wondering in the first episode, it's kind of cool how they say, as far as like the logic of the world, how they say maybe humans are the base form everything else is derived from because we've possibly reverted to humans because they don't know why they're humans now and they're so weak. And he doesn't even know that he has to eat. So what kind of empathy, what kind of compassion could he possibly have for humans prior to this, right? So that in itself could be enough, maybe, to justify it. But it's, you definitely have to jump through some mental hoops and try to kind of assign certain justifications and motives for for him. Like maybe the church was corrupt or something at the time, and he was actually cleansing the land, and they're lying about it. And, who knows? But that kind of, to me, gives me a little bit of trouble with the dynamics of whether or not I can suspend disbelief that this character is being so kind, so sweet, so consistently making the good decisions to protect everyone, like you were saying, because magic is only for defense and protection and restoration, right? But if I set all that aside, as far as the character goes, he's really entertaining. I love the way he interacts with his subordinates. I love how he is outwitting everybody, and you never get the sense of it, because while he's outwitting them, he looks like just a normal, naive kid. He even gets called naive and just lets it roll right off because he knows better. He's watching. He gets it. He's cunning. So I got to say that the character they made, I really respect and enjoy the human version of this character. I just can't figure out the connection to the Demon Lord form.
As far as what you were saying about like not understanding humans, the way I look at it is very much, if you have an anthill in the backyard and it's pestering your dogs, you don't think twice about exterminating that entire colony, right?
Yeah.
Because that, you don't see that as an atrocity, if you will. So if we've got, into Isla, we've got angels and we've got demons and then we've got humans. And again, we get some unreliable narration that we find out later is different than what we were told. And also there's a whole bunch of other politics going on between the 4 regions around the central island into Isla that we don't get a lot of information about. That could be part of the change of heart, is that he's like, wow, this is what it's like to be a human, to be just so powerless.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like maybe this was just, he was a sociopath as far as humans were concerned before, and now he's not. And so we get to see what his personality, if he had empathy, would be. But I don't know if there is enough clear evidence that the anime has given us that that's the fact, but it's definitely my headcanon.
I think it's more of a crowbar to get him into a place
Exactly.
to tell the comedy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I'm going to start on the opposite end and then get almost to the same place Jeremy is. So, okay. I really like the character. Again, everything everyone else has said. The character is a great fun to watch. I watched English dub. Second time. I watched English dub originally, and the actor just is so good. He brings the character, the way he gets frustrated, the way he just doesn't care, and the way he rapidly switches between those two things because of all the bumbling fools around him.
Why would you do that to Dullahan?
Yes, he's great. And he carries most of the charm. Him and his interactions with the hero, I was like where the charm to me is coming from. I'm like, man, it's so fun to watch enemies who don't have a war to fight and having to stand, and yeah, it's great. I have very similar feelings to Jeremy, but not in the vein of like the logic doesn't fill out. I'm wondering, what are you trying to say, anime? Are you saying if people are poor and work at McDonald's, then they're good people, where if they're rich rulers and overpowerful, that they're all but demon lords? Is
power corrupts.
And I was telling these guys in the pre-show that I feel like this is the opposite of the same coin of Overlord, whereas Overlord was about a worker who was a decent person, goes into a world where now he's a monster and has overwhelming power and becomes a villain. And then we have the story about a villain who's a monster and his overwhelming power, and he gets all that stripped away, becomes a worker, and now he's a decent guy. And it's like, is there a message in that I should be taking? Should I be giving away all my money and back to the burger flipping? I've done it. I don't want to do it again.
Their 6 tatami room, which is what they live in, is 100 square feet. I had to look that up because it was driving me nuts. Wow. I was like, how big is this? This seems really small.
I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, when are we going to see the other rooms? And then realizing, like, oh.
Yep.
To be fair, he did get assistant shift manager.
He did. He's moving up in the world.
Also, if he's really gonna take over this world, he's gonna have to get into real estate because that's where McDonald's really is now.
Right.
I have a little bit of, especially the second time, I wish there had been a little more of the fish out of water aspect played for Mao and his friend Ashia. We do a quick time skip where they've been here for a while. They've learned the language and learned a lot of the customs. You know, they're cutting coupons. He's talking about B-movie lines and stuff, and that stuff was fun too. And they do it with another character who's like, people are in the box, and it's like, no, it's a TV.
Yeah.
But it also bugged me in that line that the character who said that would have also had seen it the first time and been like, people in a box?
Yeah.
That stuff is very funny, and especially in the beginning when they're like talking to cops, trying to figure out like what are the role of cops.
Right.
That stuff was fun, and I wish we had played with that a little longer before we did the time jump and then become more world savvy to Earth.
These crazy cosplaying kids.
You gotta quit yelling about him being your lord, your dark lord, in the middle of the street. You're making people uncomfortable.
Well, speaking of screaming all the time about your Dark Lord, the next character is, he changes his name to Ashia. It's Alciel, but I'll call him Ashia. What do you guys think of the Generalissimo of the Devil's Army?
I really enjoyed this absolutely undying servant. Everything is in service to the Lord, even if he has to eat everything on the menu of a particular restaurant. And it made for some really great jokes and really wholesome jokes, really. But also, there's a really long stint where he's sick, and it's actually kind of funny why he's sick. But we don't see a ton of him, so that was a little disappointing. But and also how when he gets his power, he's always late to the fight.
Yes, because he has to go back and get his mantle.
Oh my
Get
god!
I
back.
have my mantle, and now I'm here.
In English dub, he just called it the cape. I had to get
Yeah.
my cape.
Wow,
Yep.
okay.
I would like to know more about his, and that's the thing is like the anime doesn't do a great job of giving backstory to these guys because I don't know like what a lot of his role into Isla was. I know he was a commander of an army and that they were attacking one of the 4 points, but we don't know much beyond that. So, but yeah, I enjoyed his role in the story.
Yeah, I heard him called a master strategist by Lucifer and maybe somebody else too. So I don't know if he was also just in charge of like the general movement of the armies.
I like how he takes on role of wife.
Yes, and mother. And mother.
Yeah,
Big
that's right.
time.
Because he's always cooking. He's always taking care of
Yeah.
the finances.
I love it how it's like got the shot of him in the OP and he's like airing out their laundry outside. This super powerful demon general. So I think he's a good case for, when he shows up in the human realm and he also gets a human body that is frail with now empathy. He doesn't become as good as Mao. He's not as good. He's not as kind.
He's definitely not as.
I don't know if I agree with
He
that.
is
'cause, there's
kinder.
one point where he finds out he's part of a human scam, and he's like, "Oh no, I've done something terrible."
Yeah.
They
And they
call
even
it
point
out.
out, "You're a demon, though."
Yeah, she even calls it out. But you can see it in times where, like, at the beginning, his first instinct is that they're going to essentially do evil deeds, right?
Yeah.
And also later, you see the same thing happen, where his inclination is just he wants to get back. That's it. That's his goal. That's his priority. And he would be fine with taking the same measures that Lucifer was taking in, the first 5 episodes to do that if Mao was okay with it. But the fact that Mao is not means that he's not going to do it. So that means he's only being reined in by his boss having morals and having now this empathy. So I do find that to be interesting that Mao isn't just nicer because of having empathy. There's actually got to be a difference between him and Alciel. So that was interesting. But I do love the way that he behaves. He's kind of bumbling. He's kind of he's only partially effective, right? So like he is the sort of mother/wife character that's taking care of him. But at the same time, he's not necessarily doing the best job. Like I love the meals that he cooks in the first half of the season. They're horrible looking meals. Like, and even Mao calls out. He's like, I would have preferred more protein in this, And it's very funny. He does a very good job. I actually
honey
didn't
on
get
cucumber.
Yeah, exactly. I did exactly. That one was really good. I didn't get tired of his shtick of, my lord. Oh no, I've upset the Dark Lord. I've upset him. I can't. It never grated on me. I
Yeah.
never got tired of it. So they did a good job seasoning that in and portraying it right with him.
Wickedly funny character. Made me laugh every time. I actually was bummed when he was sick because I was like, I want him to be more involved. I kind of agree with your complaints, Jeremy, but I really think the source of it is he just needs an arc. We need to see his own reconciliation with the situation instead of just being a follower, realizing, oh, we're actually equals now. There's no reason he's the boss, or even I'm doubling down. I want to be the demon, and we need to get back. And while Mal is dragging his feet and having to confront that, instead he's just blindly going along, and whatever Mal's whims are his whims, even if he complains. He needs a character arc where he has to make his own decisions and face some of his own inner thoughts. I think that's what's missing from him, and then he would be near perfect.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were starting in episode 13. To be honest, yeah.
I can see that.
All right. So these guys have arrived on Earth. We talked about the two cops who come and think they're cosplayers. The cops take them in and then even try to feed them. And Mao uses what magic he has. It's not very much, but he has a little magic left. And he uses it to get information about the world. So he finds out a bunch of general information and what they need to do to acclimate to this world. So they create identities after they leave the police station, and they get a bank account, and then they go and they rent an apartment, which is just a one bedroom with, I think.
I have a fairly unfounded theory that I think holds up with the actions we see. I think Mao is constantly lying about how much magic he has.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think he doesn't go like full out until he's overfulled. But I think when he first gets here, I think he's got way more magic than he's leading on. He just doesn't see a way to replenish it, so he's biding his time. That's my. I don't have any real hard evidence, but that's.
Do you have any soft evidence? Do you have anything?
Yeah, so whenever he needs it, he has it. Like in either in emergency situations or when he wants to do something such as
teleport.
Yeah, or do the thing with the cops, or when he's there was that at the festival with the tree, or the crocodiles. Like
now, the tree is interesting. I want to come back to that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually, I'm wondering if that was magic at all, because I wonder if it just was regular. But yeah, we'll come back to that. But I think there's just too many situations where he's able to use it fairly freely without there being a good source of it.
It's hard to know because they never really say, like, they never give us power levels. Oh, making a cop tell me something is a lot of power or a little bit.
Right.
Power levels sure would be useful.
No, then you're just limiting yourself.
Oh, okay. Oh, on the topic of the magic and the fact that they, the manner in which they, well, maybe I should just hold on to that until we reveal the manner in which they can replenish it. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll complain about it then.
Okay. Sounds good.
He literally collapses later from not eating, didn't realize they needed to eat, Ashia doesn't because he had been eating the food that the cops gave him.
He walks in on him. He's just like, well, sire.
Mal's like, I'm not going to eat what you gave me. I'm too good for that. And Ashia, good stuff. Yeah, so he decided after a hospital stint and getting some food, he decided we need jobs. We're gonna live in this world. It runs on currency, and then we get our time skip because up to this point they've been speaking in their own language and barely understood what the English was. And then we get a time skip. Now he's
I love his like attempts at speaking when they're getting bank accounts. That was amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, he gets a job at McRonald. He's a part-time worker. That's the premise of the show. They both speak English now, and Ashia had tried to get a job but kept getting upset, and so now he does research on how to get magic back and does all the housework and takes care of their apartment.
I love how his research first leads him to things like the pyramids or ancient aliens. That was, that was so awesome.
Great.
And he's upset because Mao has spent their money on a bike. Expenses they don't have.
Doulahan.
Calls it Doulahan, his trusty steed. One day, going to work, it's raining. He runs into a redheaded girl and he offers his umbrella. And then he goes on to work where we meet his co-worker, Chiho, who is a high school girl, huge tracts of land.
Very
But
large burgers.
I will say this
Full Big
about
Macs.
Chiho and her huge tracts of land. I like that the character was aware of it and was fully willing to use it. Because usually you have the naive, huge tracts of land character, and they're like, "What? These are big?" and there's scenes of Chiho being like, "Okay, this bikini," and they squeeze them like this.
Yes.
And I appreciated that little difference.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on Chiho?
I wish she was a little older to start, but besides that, I thought she was hilarious. I love that she's kind of enamored with Mao, just because of his work ethic, and also, he's a good-looking guy. But then when she finds out the truth about him and his cohorts, it like enamors her even more. And what?
Her whole thing is I was in love with you before I knew. So she didn't fall more in love.
Oh, you can't
devil.
say she didn't fall more in love with that awesome bod he gets when he transforms.
He has
Not just
boobs.
Man boobs.
No, not boobs. Hooves. Like on his feet. He's got the legs of a goat, man.
He's got those, but they're muscular, man. He's got like biceps on his
They're
hooves.
hot goat legs.
Yeah.
I'm saying she likes him at first, but when she finds out the truth about them, it deepens the relationship.
It becomes a romance novel. Like she even has dreams about, oh no, he's going to go back. He'll kiss me on the forehead. And
But
like,
she serves for some amazing comedic moments, like, I'm not ready for the second layer of the bento box. Hold on.
yes. The bento box scene was great.
Yeah. But yeah, I adore Chio. I think she's great.
I thought she was pretty cool because she's really the main human element in this, right? She's the stabilizing factor for these guys that are all out of their element. And it's sort of the human perception of how are they received here. And then at first it's how are they received if you're ignorant of their origin. And then it becomes, does that stick once you know their origins? Do you still think of them the same way? And like you said, Troy, that it does become like her go-to statement is, I loved you before. I had feelings. I fell for you before. And I don't see any reason to think of you differently than I did before now that I know these things.
Says it twice for those of us who watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't say she didn't.
And she felt more in love. And like her literal statement is like, no, I fell in love before, and afterwards I didn't fall out.
But you're telling me that the trust was not deepened of knowing his true
No, I think it's the opposite. She literally is like, hey, this guy I've fallen in love with has committed mass genocide. That did not enamor her more. She even says, I did have a problem with it, but I've already fallen in love with you.
Mhm.
Pardon me for taking what the character says. At face
Literally.
Okay. No, I think you're misunderstanding what I said. I wasn't saying that she. Yes, she said, I loved you before. Fine. But I'm saying that the relationship was strengthened once she accepted who they were as their real forms.
I'm picking
That's
a
all I
fight
was
with you
saying.
because I hate this relationship. Just so you know, it's not you. This is the worst part of the anime to me.
I mean that's fine. Just don't twist my words.
So I got an interesting statement about this then. Let's see if this changes anything. So why does she like him as a human?
Bad
What are the
boy.
qualities that she likes about him?
Bad boy.
No,
That
he's kind and he teaches her and helps her. He's a mentor to her.
So when she sees him acting in his demon form, would you say that that behavior is increased or decreased?
Increased.
Yeah, it's increased, right? Yeah. So essentially, I would say that, well, she doesn't like him more for his past acts in that form. I think she does like what he does with it now and what his potential is to do with it. So I could see
And
it being
those
like
abs.
yeah, I could see it being like this guy he's got the power to actually take his goodness and his kindness and act on it in ways that other people can't. And that is an attractive thing.
I think it's that he's willing to, but not that he has the power to.
Oh, are you kidding me? Power is attractive.
Not to Chiho. She was in
Power,
love with a part-time worker at a McDonald's.
absolutely.
Power was
But-
not a factor to her.
Because that's
No,
what she could get.
No, because you're reducing what I was saying to just being power. Power is the ability to take what you are trying to do and make it happen more. Right? So in this situation, he's trying to be kind, he's trying to be good, he's trying to protect people. There's a certain threshold where a normal person can't. A normal person can't hold a bridge up or restore everybody, can't repair an entire city, like a third of the city that gets destroyed. But he can. So would she, I mean, it just makes sense to me that she would be like, that is amazing. It's awesome. I feel more safe with you. I like you more. You're able to act more on what you're trying to do. The good qualities that I love in you are actually taking effect on a larger scale. I could see that being a increase.
So why do you hate it so much? Is it just because she's fallen in love with a genocidal maniac?
Hold on, we'll get to this.
Yeah.
First off, I want to recognize that A, I started it, and B, this is the dumbest argument we've ever had.
Hey, it's a Baka argument.
You're arguing that she possibly could have fallen in love with him more post learning he's a demon because he's more powerful. Like there's a potential there. You didn't see any. She never said anything. There's no proof, but it's potentially there.
No. I'm saying that she decided what she fell in love with when she picked the qualities about him that she was in love with. If he is able to act on those qualities more, it would go without saying that she would
No,
also
it does not
love
go
him.
without saying. You were literally
totally
having to
does.
say it, and you have no proof.
No, that's
No
because
proof.
it's common
No proof.
sense. It's common sense. If you love a person and that person is doing a good thing and you love the good thing that they're doing, if they do that good thing more, you will love them more because you have
But
more
did
to
she
love.
say it?
That's insane.
That is not insane.
But did she say it?
Right. The same thing is true in the opposite spectrum. Like if you hate a person because the person is doing something bad and then the person does something even worse, does that bad thing more and more and more, you start to hate them more. Like that's just
because you're
how
not
the
talking
human
about them
brain
doing
works.
it. You're talking about their capacity to do it.
No,
Like,
he is
hey,
demonstrating.
I like this guy because he
No.
saves puppies, but now
No.
I like this guy because his house can take in 100 puppies, so I loved him more than
Not
the 2
can.
puppies he used to save.
I included potential in the argument of the things he did. She watched him hold the bridge up. She watched him save people's lives. She watched him repair everything. She
But
watched him
being a
put the
demon
city
has
back.
nothing to do with
him
that
being
love.
a
It's just
demon.
that he would be willing to do that. Even
No.
if he was a human who could do
No.
that, it wouldn't have changed her feelings.
This argument is spiraling out of control.
No.
So dumb.
No,
the
it's not,
dumbest
because
argument.
because the only way he could have done these things is being a demon. If you take that out of it, then all she's loving him for is the wish that he could do this. But she can actually see him doing it, therefore that makes her love him even more. That's
No,
just
it's the foundation that
what?
he would be the type of person who would do this with that type of power.
Love scales. It's not just a one
Love
thing.
does not scale.
Yes, it does.
It does not.
Yes, it does. You can love, and then you can love more, and you can love more and more.
Not
It's
because
not
of
just
someone's power increase.
His
You can
power
bench
increase-
more
No.
weight, so I love you more. That's an insane argument.
No,
But-
that's not my argument. You're making a straw man. My argument is that
I love my cats, and I also love my children. But I would not say that I love my cats more than I love my children.
But you exactly.
There's
You love your
different
children more
okay,
than your cats.
Different levels of love, yes, but the love doesn't scale for the same.
Yes, it does.
What do you think those levels are? Those levels are on a scale.
Yeah.
They didn't. If your cat turned into a human, I don't know where I'm going
yeah.
with that.
I think I'd love them more.
I actually really like that train of thought. Can you continue?
All right, so your cat now can hold up a bridge.
Okay.
You love them more. All right.
I would
See, that's
actually.
that's an odd.
If my cat not only would, but understood what they were doing and then did it out of a good intention, yes.
I would love that cat more than my cat that didn't have powers.
Yes.
So, Jeremy, you were literally saying if someone has less ability, less power than someone else, you would love them less.
Well, we're not talking about loving less. We're talking about where it went from her original position.
That
We're
wasn't
not
his
talking
question.
about a reduction. We're talking about an increase.
If love can scale up, but it can't scale down,
No, it can totally scale down.
okay, so I'm asking you, in yours, love can scale down, so you love someone, and now they have less ability, they lose their ability to do the thing you loved, that they did, that you like so much. Not by choice, just they can't anymore.
They got in a car accident, and
Now
now
you-
they're in a
that-
wheelchair.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Mhm.
go there, but try not to go too dark. You love them less.
That is not the
mean-
same situation. No, it's not the same situation, because once you have established a point of love, coming down from it is not the same as going up. It's actually more difficult to come down from that. You can't just say because somebody no longer has the capacity to move. I mean, that's an obvious statement that of course you're not going to love them less. But if that person, you loved them because of, all the reasons that you loved them, and then you found a reason to love them more, that's not, it's not petty. It's not a loss just because they're unable to do something. You're actually increasing it because you're seeing the things that you cared about them for, and they manifest them in a more intense way or a larger amount. It makes sense. It's like if I demonstrate to you, like let's say I got it. What is a life debt? Right?
It's a Wookiee thing.
Right, I know, but in theory, like in concept, the concept of a life debt, right?
You
If
saved
I
my
save,
life, therefore I owe you my life.
right, if I save a possession of yours, you will appreciate that I saved that possession. If that possession is extremely valuable, you will appreciate more that I saved that possession. If that is your life and not a possession at all, it eclipses any appreciation that you would have had for a possession that I saved. And that's where the concept of a life debt comes from. So, in the same fashion, by increasing the scale and demonstrating, not just hypothetical of, well, you have the capacity, but you haven't demonstrated. When somebody has demonstrated it, that appreciation, that value that you can then see is something that's real. It's not just a valueless thing that exists in the ether. Like, he's demonstrated it. That definitely improved his standing in her mind. Excuse me, I have a burp and it is driving me crazy. There we go. So that's my stance. My stance is that she cared about him, right? She said she fell for him. And the reasons she fell for him is because he's so kind. She does go into that he's so kind and he's reliable and he's sweet, right? And then he demonstrates that in a greater capacity. Why is that a negative thing for her to say, wow, I like all these things about him. I love all these things about him. He did it more. Oh my God, I love him more. How many times have you seen like girls where they go, oh, I love him so much. I love him more. And we saw it in an anime not that long ago. We did. We saw it in an anime.
Okay.
And that does happen. So, I mean, love's on a scale. It's on a spectrum. There is more. There is less. It's not. I don't think this detracts from her emotions for him.
I think if Mal has no magic powers and he still runs around and tries to save people, versus turns into a giant demon and uses magic powers to save everyone, both those things affect her ability to love him the same.
Oh, I think they both affect it. Absolutely. I just think that he hasn't
act that he's willing to go all out and save these people, not in the success. Even if he had failed, I don't think she loves him less. The fact that he tries, it's the attempt, not the power.
No, because we didn't see a demonstration of him failing. What I'm talking about is the demonstration. If he had demonstrated and then failed, yes, it would be the same.
Or if he smashed everyone together and killed everyone.
Well, I mean, that sounds just like, that sounds aggressive and negative. It doesn't sound like saving. But I mean, yeah, but that's my point, is that he did something. He acted using his ability. Now, if his ability wasn't enough to succeed, she would have still loved him for that. But the fact that he succeeded should still be acknowledged that she loves him more for his success. The fact that he did it.
I think it's for the act, not for the success.
How about you, viewer? Tell us in the comments what you think.
Yeah, okay,
well, I'm not saying, and I'm again. Okay, here we go.
But if you bring up life deaths, I'm deleting the comment.
Life deaths is a valid illustration. It was a valid illustration.
We're not censoring over here.
I like the idea that it's the act, and in this case, the act was successful, and therefore it demonstrated his ability to do it and his desire to do it.
I really want to know Gamer Dad's thoughts on this.
I do like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Gamer Dad, there's your shout out. Hello.
Well, I would say yes. I would say act. Definitely. Like you have convinced me. Act.
What's his handle on Twitter?
So, it's Gamer Dad.
It's Gamer Dad. That's his.
Okay, at Gamer Dad. Okay.
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
I don't know if he wants us to reveal his. He's in our comments. You could just go look at anything who's retweeted us.
You can find him on our Twitter at Baka. Oh God, Anime Baka Club.
I feel bad bringing him into this. Let's not.
I'm not bringing him in. I'm asking for his opinion.
Yeah, but why are you telling other people his Twitter handle to go call him out? That doesn't make any sense.
Hey, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Okay, we were in the weeds. Whatever's past the weeds, we are rolling in it now.
So I will say, I agree. It's
trying to pull us back. Okay. I'm trying to say, let's get back on track.
Demonstrating your goodness in an attempt.
Yes.
Definitely could increase the love.
Yes, and in this case,
I can agree with it.
The success is on the side. The success isn't the thing. It's the act. I do agree with that. So, yeah. Good job distilling that.
Why I don't like the Chiho relationship. Again, she's very funny, and I enjoy the character. And I don't even mind that she's in love with him. That totally makes sense, and it works for her character. What I don't like is that the anime seems to give it legitimacy, because I find it very one-sided in a power balance. Like, if they were to go to a long-term married couple, he's her mentor. She looks up to him. She literally calls him Mr. Mal. Everything she does, she looks to him for advice. Even when she comes over to help, she's coming to help like a underling. He sees her as an underling. That is not a healthy relationship dynamic in my point of view. I don't want to criticize anyone's relationships, but I hate it. I hate it in this anime.
And
she's
to be fair, he never responds to it or like
goes on a date with her, holds her hand, is very aware of her feelings.
To be fair, however, he has no idea what the connotation of holding hands means.
That's possible.
He's seen movies.
I don't know what he watched.
He may have seen movies, but the thing is that he, in that moment, he's just like, oh, holding your hand is going to make you feel better. All right, let's go. And he grabs it. Like, there's no hesitation. It's not.
I feel like both him and Ashio are very aware of what this means to her. Before the date, during the date, calling it a date. He's not like, what's date? Is that a food? Yes, we'll call it that, like Goku did.
Well, it is true that Ashiel made him dress differently, so
yeah,
they
he's
understood
like,
that
this
there
is
was
important
a
to
different
a young
connotation.
woman. This is a big deal. This is romantic.
But
So
he
maybe.
didn't seem like he was attempting to woo her, though.
No, but he's also aware she has feelings for him. Look, you're right. I'll just let it go.
And to be clear, I 100% agree with you. I don't think it's a great relationship if it were to be solidified. I was just saying in defense of Mao, even though he calls it a date, even though he holds her hand, he never reciprocates her in a meaningful way. Like when she's attempting to show herself off to him, he doesn't particularly notice. Or when she tells him she loves him, he never says it back. Or even really acknowledges it much.
Right.
Like, all right, well, we got stuff to do. Like,
Also, I don't like her mom and dad way treating it. Like, it's like he's half babysitter, half boyfriend at the same time through her parents' eyes. And
but in that
that is-
culture, like, for her to be like interested in someone of a higher stature,
Yeah, it's probably a good thing in their eyes.
yeah.
well, there's a cop, and he's a part-time worker at McDonald's. I'm sure he's elated about his daughter's choice.
Well, I think it depends on like he's probably young enough to where that's okay.
Yeah.
Probably considered a good movement upwards. I do think that there's a big difference in how Mao treats Emmy. I mean, he'll even make comments about her body and little jokes and jabs and stuff, and he doesn't do that with
He
Shiho.
doesn't notice her body at all.
Yeah, so there's definitely a
I have
perception.
a theory about that, by the way.
There. Oh,
Do share.
Well, think about it. Emmy, even though she's only half, she is a similar stature, if you will, as far as power level. Like, she uses her celestial power, he uses magic. She's half not of this world, but from heaven. He's indirectly from heaven. I mean, that's where Lucifer wants to go, right? So it's kind of like, if two aliens came down and found each other, they would rather date each other than humans, right? Because it's for that familiarity. So I think he has more of an affinity to Emmy because of that, because she's half angel.
I don't know if I know Lucifer is definitely from heaven, but I think that's based on him, in the mythology, if it's mythology, who knows, being the morning star that fell and was a fallen angel, whereas Satan is supposed to be more of, I'll admit I looked this all up. Not in this anime stuff. I went to like the gods and demons Wikipedia thing, and oh my gosh. Wow. Went down some
But
crazy rabbit holes.
all of the demons in this show seem to be of similar magic, similar background, similar power levels, right? Or at least what they draw from.
Yeah, I mean, I like your idea. I definitely see them both as aliens, but I do think that like Satan and Alciel in the mythology is actually supposed to be a human that was super angry at the gods because of all the horrible things he'd experienced. And so when he went to hell, Lilith and Lucifer brought him over and were like, hey, you hate gods? We hate gods. Let's make you a demon instead. And so he became a god killer demon. And so Satan is supposed to be some other demon created by a totally different alternative god. So like, wow, like my mind was blown when I was reading all this stuff.
Check your children's history on the internet.
So I guess all I'm saying is I
Stuff out
think
there.
those two probably came from hell, which in my book it still fits with your idea. But I just want to throw that in there because it was interesting.
So
I think that's probably why he doesn't look at Susanoo very much either.
to not put. Okay, so your theory is that he's falling in love with Emmy, and that is because she is half
Angel.
supernatural being just like him.
Correct. That's my theory.
I like it too. Yeah.
Love it. He gets a promotion at work, and then when he leaves, the redhead girl is there, and she is angry, and she is Amelia, the hero, and she attacks him with a knife. And she came through the portal as after him with a priest
Oba.
and Olba, Olba.
Oh, that's right.
And
There's an L.
she has taken a job as a helpline worker, and
In a call center.
She calls
uses a
herself
knife on him.
an OL, and I had to look that up because apparently it stands for office lady.
So, thoughts on Emmy?
I absolutely adore this character. Not only is she really funny as a character in this show, but I like her arc of what am I doing? Because we come to find out later that she's going to end up being betrayed by part of the people that she's working with. And not everyone is against her, but there seems to be a faction that is, or at least sees her as in the way. I like that if we're going to use power levels, she seems to be more powerful than Mao. Or at least, full power to full power, she beats him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting too. But I do like that she also doesn't have a really great way to replenish magic. So she comes after him with a knife and not her celestial sword because she can't manifest it. But her constant struggle of, I know there's bad reason, or there seems to be bad reasoning for why Mallow acts the way he does. But her constant struggle of, hey, this is the demon lord that's committed genocide, and now he's helping this little girl, or he wants to be a middle management, and he's just helping everyone around him. This is really confusing for me. I like that struggle throughout the anime, and it leads to some really great moments. Like, she's basically stalking a group of boys.
Yeah.
She keeps getting caught doing it. It's pretty great.
Yeah. So I have again a little minor issue with this. I'm being overly critical probably, but for me the issue is when you have somebody that is a criminal on the scale that the Demon Lord is, and then he flees to essentially another country, right, another world, just because he's living a great life there and being a nice person, does he not get punished for all of the horrible things that he did? Especially if you're the hero and you've been raised from a young age with, like, my village, my father was killed by this guy's machinations, right? I hold him responsible for it. All of these other countries were taken on the other continents and attacked. I had to beat back and kill all his armies, so she's numb to killing demons and to killing these monsters who she holds responsible for these things. So just because he fled, and just because he showed up over here and was acting like a nice guy and living a better life, I find it difficult to believe that she would say, "Oh, I'm just gonna watch you, and if you do start being evil again, I'll kill you. But as long as you're not, I'm just gonna let you be."
And I tend to agree with you because there's always this excuse of, oh, I need to make sure I've got enough magic to get home. Like that.
Yeah.
That's always seems to be the excuse, and it comes off as an excuse.
And I don't even believe her. Like, you were mentioning that you think Mao has more magic than he lets on. She's got to be the same, because she says that.
There's
Well,
plenty of moments where her celestial sword gets shortened and she seems surprised about it.
you're absolutely right. But she says at the beginning that, like, I don't have enough sacred power to manifest my sword, and so she has a knife and stuff. And yet later, she has enough to manifest her sword and some
armor.
Part of her armor, and fly around with wings and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So, I mean, clearly she does say that there is a way to get more of her power to replenish it. Maybe it's just fast enough that she recovered that much, but and so maybe she would have just done it at the beginning, I guess that's possible. She would have killed him immediately. I just can't see her being like, oh, you're not such a bad guy now. You committed all these war crimes and you killed so many people, but you look like you're having fun over here and being a nice guy. I don't know. But as a character, she's great.
Well, I love Amelia. I think she's the heart of the show. She's
Mhm.
center stage for most of the OP, and she's my favorite character. I have as much fun watching her as Mal, and their interactions are always amazing.
They
Like,
really are.
she's doing the heroic thing, but then she falls down his freaky stairs that seem to hurt everyone,
Yeah.
especially her. And then he's
Uh-huh.
taking care of her. When she has to ask to stay over, is
Oh,
one of the best scenes
it's
ever.
adorable. Yeah.
So yeah,
Here's a blanket.
I love it. Jeremy, I do think there's a bit of things change halfway through the anime.
Mm.
Up till episode 6, her thing is, I can kill you, but then I can't go home. And I do want to go home, so I'm just not going to kill you till I have to, or find a way to kill you. Like it's a... And I don't fully believe her. You're not wrong to criticize that. But after episode 6, she can go home anytime she wants. And that's when she starts saying, all right, am I going to kill this guy?
Yeah.
She
And she is like, I'm going to destroy him just as soon as he does something to deserve it. But that is until after episode 6 when she's seen him saving people and going way all out for no good reason. And I think she's more trying to figure out what's going on.
and
Up until that,
she also feels like she's been betrayed by the church.
After episode 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At that time, and she starts to question her relationship with the church as well.
But she can go home anytime after episode 6.
Well, yes, but I guess, and I agree with all that, but my question is, how did she get enough power to do what she did in episode 5?
I think she always had that power, but once she used that power, she couldn't go home.
But
I agree.
she said that she can replenish her power over here slowly. She said, a pity you can't replenish your power over here. Celestial power, I
she's
can
not
actually
able
do
to
that.
replenish until she gets the energy drinks.
At all?
Yeah, I don't
She
think
couldn't even manifest her sword at the beginning, but she could in episode 5, along with
she
some
could.
armor.
She just said I didn't need to. I could just kill you with a knife.
This feels like a stretch. I mean, as far as like writing goes.
It's hard to know what she's telling the truth about and what she's being coy.
Right.
Could she make her sword? Mal
Well-
says she can't. She says she can.
Right, but I mean, and that's the point. If she can, and she chose not to, then she'd already decided in episode 1 that she wasn't going to kill him. And that just doesn't make sense to me.
And she does try to kill him here.
But she doesn't manifest her sword.
Right, because then she won't be able to get home.
Oh, okay.
If she's to be believed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just doesn't work in my mind, because she would be more concerned about killing him and then finding a way to get home than getting home. It doesn't make sense. Like, the hero that jumps through the portal is generally going to be more concerned. Like, they're throwing themselves into the fire, right? I don't know. That's just my perception of this. It just doesn't add up.
Also, this isn't like right away. This is like after both of them have been in this world for quite some time.
Yeah, it has
And
to have been
they
months.
both established lives here. Lives
Mhm.
here. So that could have made some hesitation as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because you've got the law of the land in the back of your head. You're not practicing every day as far as combat because you don't have some training grounds or anything like that. So
Yeah, that could be. She could have her rage could have dulled too.
exactly, but I mean, this is all speculation. They don't really address it well, but it does lead to a really funny fight scene.
So,
Yeah.
So here's the thing. In movie or in stories, the good guy never just kills the bad guy just because they're evil. It's always... It happens in Dragon Ball Z. You had to wait till... Like, Frieza's half dead on the ground, and Goku's like, okay, I won't kill you. And then when he's walking away, Frieza does one last shot.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, no, now you're dead. It has to be completely earned. If she had just... Kind of like she does here. If she does just go up and stab him when he's just sitting there, that's not very heroic. He needs to be doing evil so that she can be like, okay, now I can jump in and kill you. I have justification for this murder. I'm a good guy. I'm a hero. And I think that's what's holding her back in the beginning.
Writing.
I could definitely see that.
Writing is what's holding her back in the beginning.
Right. Well, she is an over idealistic character. She even has this idea that I'm going to find a way to defeat Mao and also save Chiho's feelings and unite Chiho and Mao, and everyone's going to be happy when I kill him somehow. She says that out loud. She's way over idealistic. She sees herself as the hero. I think this fits with her character. She needs him to do something to make her act to kill him, and he just won't do it. And it's freaking her out. I think that's why she comes at him with a knife here, hoping that like he will, go all wild, and even then he doesn't.
Maybe.
I like that a lot.
I mean, you're definitely right about that being an important aspect of heroic storytelling. 100% agree with that. I guess
not just that, but I mean, just like horror stories, it's like, well, if she stabs him here and kills him, I mean, this is a really short anime.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, all of that's just like that's all just writing criticism. Like, if that's the situation and you know that this is the limit of a heroic character, then maybe you have to write something that puts them in a situation where she can't kill him, and he gets the opportunity to demonstrate again and again that he's good before she actually can. And maybe that's what they were trying to do, but it just, I don't know. Her justification for why she didn't just use her power, especially if she was like, hey, I will stab you with a knife. I will kill you with a knife unless the police arrest me. Just didn't quite seem enough.
Weird. That closet sounds like it has demons in it. I better leave and set the house on fire. End of movie.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I'm gonna push forward. They do get arrested. Police think it's a lover spat.
Yes.
Which
is
they're
a recurring
constantly,
joke.
constantly
Recurring joke
accused
throughout
of.
the series. It's like, oh, you must really love him. I couldn't like him even less. I wanted him to die. Actually, she visits their apartment to check out the Demon's Castle. I love that she calls it the Demon's Castle, and it's just
The stronghold in the sub. Yeah.
Oh, it's Stronghold.
Yeah.
So
100 square feet. Dang.
there's also an earthquake, a very light earthquake that they all feel. It ends up being important later. And then she visits Mao at work and asks to meet with him. He talks with Chiho about the earthquakes. And she's like, oh, it was super strong. And he's like, no, it wasn't. And then he talks with Amelia. And then when they do, they get attacked by a sniper with magic energy. And so they flee, they get away, and then he's like, I'm going home. I don't care about this. And she follows him. He's like, what are you doing? She's like, I dropped my wallet, and I can't get home. Too far to walk. Can I please stay at your place? And he lets her. It's great when he lets her in. Like the first time, Ashia's like, wait, you knew the hero was here and you didn't tell me? I love that moment. But they basically like, hey, there's some magazines you can curl up on, and she just has to sit in the corner, and she's crying like, this is so humiliating. It's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chiho texts that more earthquakes are coming. Afterwards, this is the date episode. Chiho and Mao go on a date. She wears a very pretty dress. Ashia takes him clothes shopping. They just buy him like a dinner jacket. And what?
Obviously, it says, I'm available.
While they're at dinner talking, they're talking about the earthquakes and that she's been hearing voices recently. Ashia is spying on them, and Emmy comes along and sees him and is like, oh, he's up to nefarious. And then she sees Mao's on a date with a young girl, and she's like, oh, that's no good. The devil's on a date. So she makes Ashia go in with her, and they drop it. But then she's like, nope, I'm interrupting. And is like, you need to get away from this guy. And Chiho's like, oh, this is your ex-girlfriend. I'll love him no matter what. You can't stop me. And they have this argument. All culminates with another earthquake, which is actually magic messages being sent from Isla.
Sonar hits.
Yeah. Sonar. Yeah. Sonar.
I think that's the spell name too, isn't it? Sonar?
Yeah.
In the subtitle, yeah.
Yeah, something. But the whole place collapses when
Yeah,
this
and they're in a
earthquake hits.
subway, technically, so they get trapped underground. But all of Mao gets his magic energy back, and he's able to save everyone. And
he's also a little
Emmy become
confused
friends.
why at this point, right?
Yeah, he's not sure, but he saved everyone. And then the next episode, we find out Chiho's dad's a cop, so they leave, so they don't have to talk to him.
He is the cop that they first ran into when they first got to the world.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I guess I missed that.
And that
Yeah.
never.
In fact, I
comes
think
into play again.
I think he's the same cop that he stole the $100 from to start a bank account.
Yes.
Is that why he's so scared of her dad?
Probably.
Probably because it's like, oh god, he's gonna recognize me.
Yeah.
We do get a flashback for Amelia of her with her father, and then the church coming for her and being like, him learning her mother's an angel, so she's half and half. So they need her to be the weapon against the devil. And then finding out her village burned down and her father died after she left.
They never show his body, however. It's just reported that he died.
Yeah. Heck, they could have been the church that burned the village. Who knows?
It's a false flag.
Exactly.
Stuff happening. Emmy stays with her friends. There's multiple muggings happening around town, which is odd. She returns the money she owes Mao and then falls down their stairs, so they have to treat her with bandages that they have. And then Chiho shows up when they're bandaging her up and sees that this girl who she was told not to worry about is there in the apartment.
Totally not next.
She freaks out and leaves, and then the landlady shows up and she's like, hey, there's gonna be another earthquake and that young lady needs to be saved.
And that she's the target of the sonars, aka I must be from Enta Isla.
Right.
But that's never paid off.
No, and she even calls him out as like Dark Lord and Amelia. I mean, she names them both.
Yeah, she knows them. Yep.
Yeah, who is this lady?
Yeah, and she's the one that I stopped and paused it at because I'm like, wait a minute, that's the landlady, and she looks evil. What's going on? But I can't tell if it was evil or just cunning.
Well,
no, she's definitely evil. Did you see the letter she sent?
Yes. I love how they carry that thing around like a charm.
Right?
The real estate agent did mention that she is taking in people with no help. So it almost seems like she set up this apartment to help people coming from Enta Isla.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Anyway, then Chiho runs into the bad guy of this small arc, and it's Lucifer, who we'll talk about after this part of the story. Okay. Because he's not really a character yet, and then he becomes a character.
Right.
Yeah. Emmy is super confused, and he reveals himself like, hey, wings out. He goes all dogma, destroys buildings, captures Chiho. Emmy's like, wait, I killed you? I remember killing you? And he's like, rup, 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 rup. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's working with Olba, the priest that Emmy had thought she had lost when she traveled here. And they've teamed up, and they've been the ones...
Come to find out, he didn't actually go through the portal with her when she went through.
I thought he made himself invisible.
No, so they were both heading towards the portal as soon as Satan and Alciel went through. Mm-hmm. She jumped in, and then he stopped.
So he came in a different time. Yeah, because he came in later
because he goes in through. We find out which gate he came in through.
You're right,
and where the exit was.
Yep.
We find out Lucifer is super powerful because he's been creating negative emotions like fear, which power up demons. So he starts blasting.
Anyways, he started blasting.
He starts blasting. He hits Ashia and then hits Mao. Mao also gets shot by a gun that Olba's using. He just has a pistol that he uses. And so Mao teleports them to a crowded area. Lucifer finds them and blasts a giant hole in his chest. And then he starts bringing buildings down, but they all get caught magically by Mao, who, because of the crowded area and all the fear that's being generated, is also getting his magic back and is super powerful now. And he tells Emmy, go take care of this while I hold everything up. So she goes and battles Lucifer, and Ashia shows up after he went and got his cape. And Olba joins in, and they all have this big battle. And then eventually, Mao's like, this feels stupid. I'm the main character. I should be in there. And he goes up and he one punches Lucifer and wins.
I love how it shows like the spell hexagram thing, like all the way across the screen down.
It's really hilarious because he gets in Lucifer's face and then like Olba's about to do something and all he does is his eye moves like that way and then he's like through the wall.
Let's talk about the action scene. Because you also said like, hey, these action scenes were great. I just feel like they were serviceable and not long.
I mean, this wasn't DBZ
right.
Infinite. I mean, you know, this was...
I'm more like where Jeremy's like, oh, it was all slice of life, but at least we got this action. I'm like, you got like 2 minutes. How does that?
How much do you normally get in a slice of life?
Fair question. I thought you were gonna say DBZ. I was like, okay, that's also true.
Well, I think this also establishes just how much more powerful Mao is from the rest of the demons because he ends this situation so quickly. I think that was more of the point. It was not only a comedic beat, but it was him going, okay, I'm going to put you down if you don't knock this off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess I find Mao's power-ups to be like the least interesting part of the whole series.
Because it just basically means, oh, it's about to be over.
Right. It's the button you press to hit end. And I don't have to think of anything clever. I just need to make Mao have hot goat legs, and then it's...
I think this introduces an interesting aspect about him that's not said. And that is, if he gets more powerful with the more negative emotions he causes on a wide scale, that means he could rule this place in a matter of days because of the amount of negative emotion he could create on a very large scale at a very fast rate. And the fact that he doesn't do it says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much more about what he's not doing with his power than what he is doing with his power.
Okay, well, hear me out this
Okay,
theory.
go. Mm-hmm.
What if he's actually amassing a huge amount of magic because no one's truly happy when they're eating at McDonald's?
That's awesome. That's why he picked McDonald's. That's great.
I mean, if that were true, he would trade jobs with Emmy because there's no soul in call centers.
That's true too. Yes. Ugh. So this is where I mentioned earlier that I had a question about the magic system, maybe a criticism, but if the demons gain more magical energy by people being afraid, would it be immoral or amoral to go to haunted houses or other places where people go intentionally to become afraid and then just feed off that?
Well, didn't they do that?
Not intentionally. I would say do it intentionally.
No, they literally intentionally went to that fair so they could go to the haunted house.
No, I'm talking about Mao going to absorb energy at haunted houses. He went there because he was asked to be a manager at the location.
He did go to the haunted school, though.
Yeah, but he went there to see if they were finding a gate. He never went to a place just to suck the negative energy out.
They sure found some things there.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, that was my question about the magic, though. Is there's countless places where fear and things like that are being created naturally. Why not just absorb that?
Okay, so there's something I noticed that is, depending on who's asking him, he has a different answer about what he wants to do. He says to Lucifer, I don't want to go back. Because Lucifer's like, why haven't you been doing this? He's like, I have no intention of going back. And then later, like when Emmy's asking him, he's like, yeah, I'll go back. I'm totally going to go back. I'll get there. I will.
Actually, when in their first interaction, she's got the knife in front of him. He's like, I'm not just going to take over this world. I'm going to get enough power to then go back to Enta Isla and take over that world as well.
Yeah.
But then he tells Lucifer outright, I don't plan on doing anything but just
and then with Ashia, he's like, yeah, we're totally going to rise up. But again, when it push came to shove in this moment, he was like, yeah, I don't, and I do think that's the truth. I don't think he wants magic at all.
Yeah. So that was my opinion too, is that I think he's actually running away from it. I think the stress, everything that may have been associated with being the Dark Lord, getting away from that and living a carefree life, even though he's poor, even though he's got different kinds of troubles, it's certainly nothing on the scale that a demon lord would have to deal with. It's probably preferable to him. At least that's the impression I'm getting, is where he's like,
He seems
I think
very
Lucifer.
content.
Yeah, and Lucifer puts it best later when he's like, heaven is a 6 tatami room with my 2 buddies, basically. So I think he's content here. Exactly. Because the magic's available, I guess, to bring it back
That is
around.
my impression. It'll be interesting to see how season 2 expands.
Yeah, I'm very excited for season 2.
All right. Yeah, so they win. Albert and Emeralda show up. These are Emmy's friends. And basically from this point forward, they have unlimited access to the magical land. Because
I love in the portal.
Emeralda always has human snacks. Always. He has chips. She's like, I'm getting fat as she's eating the cheeseburger.
And I love that during, like, on their way in the portal, they're like, okay, get ready for a battle. And they get there and it's just like, oh, you guys are lame.
Yeah. I really thought that this would be a situation where they'd have to convince these two not to just outright kill Mao and Ashia. That was kind of a welcome surprise when they showed up and were actually thinking characters and not just acting.
Also, I think they've been watching. Her room, especially in the OP, is covered in screens, like monitors, and it's like,
where did those come from?
So you're watching.
Maybe after they got in contact, but it sure seemed like they were busy trying to find her up to this point.
Actually, the first time I saw her room, I was really confused because I was like, wait, is she in the real world? No, she's in it. He's like, wait, where is she getting this technology and snacks?
She hopped over to the cyberpunk world and got some monitors.
Well, I mean, in the day she's there, though, she sets up a shipping supply of energy drinks to Emmy's house. So, I don't know. I feel like she has been watching, and she's already pretty acclimated to that world. But I guess they did say they were trying to find Emmy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if her and the landlady have been in communication with this world for quite some time. Like years.
That would be interesting.
That could be.
Then they leave. They're like, okay, well, we checked things out. We're going back. Mao fixes all the destruction. And then he offers
uses up all his magic.
Yeah, he says he can erase Chiho's memories. Now that she knows the truth, they do tell Chiho everything.
She gets angry.
She gets angry. Does not want to lose her memories.
Because she has more love now.
So now it's time to talk about their new roommate, Ushihara, Lucifer, who they adopt, create an identity for, and now he lives with them. He is a NEET who has an addiction to online shopping. So, guys, your thoughts on Ushihara?
He comes with some amazing comedic moments. He always has. He is definitely, like, out of the 3 of them, the most demon of the demons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's always underhanded, even if it's small things. He's always trying to get his own way. I love that he sends him to this haunted place, not to find anything of importance, just his gaming console.
Yep.
But yeah, and I also love that he's always the butt of jokes of, like, if you're good, we'll get you the large pork bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, he cracks me up. I love the fact, like, there's this one point where they come back and they're all kind of celebrating, and so they went and they got barbecue chicken, and they're all sitting together at the main table in the room, and so they have their 5 seats out, and he's basically relegated to his little desk. So it's basically like he's stuck at the kiddie table, and he still has his gas station food. So he's just sitting there, like, as regular conversation is taking place at the main table, he's just, like, up and kind of leaning over and peeking around and asking, wasn't there some fried chicken? Is there any fried chicken? No fried chicken? I just love that, because it's like, it's going on up on the top of the screen while the stuff you're supposed to be looking at is on the bottom. It's good stuff.
I love the box he builds to hide away in from udon noodle packaging. I kind of have a similar problem we have with some of the other characters, like Mal, is that, and not that he went from evil to good, it's that he went from productive to the laziest person on the planet. So where was all this energy and ambition coming from? Because I don't get that from him at all. He has no ambition. He's like, I am completely happy to sit in my shorts all day, just surf online. So
There's even one point where he stands up to go to answer the door, and he just collapses, and he's like, "Oh no, my legs gave out because I've been sitting too long."
So where was the ambition coming from? He has that from this moment on, from episode 6 on, he is a great character. The villain seems like a completely different character.
It seemed like he didn't see he had any options, and the only thing he had going for him was a promise to get to heaven.
Oh,
And
he wants to go to, because that did happen in the second one. I don't remember. I thought in the first time they fought him, he wanted to take over Satan's job.
No.
He talked like that to Satan, but the promise was just
Alba had promised him that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
he probably just lays around up there too.
Right.
Yeah.
Why he was thrown out to begin with.
So we learned a little bit about Enta Isla's internal workings, and that the church is like covering stuff up, that one of their priests was causing problems, and they had an Inquisition. Now they're getting rid of it, but now it's just renamed.
But also that they're having strife between nations as well.
Yeah, strife between nations and groups.
The humans
in the church.
The humans politically do not get along very well, which makes me wonder, was the narration unreliable?
Exactly.
The problem is the narration came from an actual narrator and not a character. You're gonna have it
That's happened before. Have you not played the Stanley Parable?
I would say the narrator is very much a character of the Stanley Parable.
I'm just the only question I have is, was Emmy's village called Tonka? That's all I'm asking.
So yeah, we see this young woman talking to this council. She's sitting in a shadow. Anyway, we have the adventure of the haunted classroom, but it's in Shiho's school, so she helps him get in at night, and it ends up just being a long thing to get his gaming console back from Ushihara.
And
like,
Mao is so
on the ground. Emmy follows him there, chases around, kills a mannequin.
Yes.
With her sacred blade.
Blade. Because she shows up, and they scares them, and then they just spend the whole time running away from her.
I love that as soon as she does that, they all stand up and browbeat her for destroying public property.
We're not paying for that. You're paying for that.
I can't believe you did that. You know how expensive those models are?
Then the boys get a new neighbor. We see her. She wears a kimono
totally not
all the time.
suspicious.
Very old-fashioned.
Right.
This is Susanoo, whose real name is
Prestia.
She's all, again, it's super obvious. She's like, "What is eating?" And all this stuff. I'm just old-fashioned. Sure. Your guys' thoughts on Susanoo?
Adorable.
Mm-hmm.
I do like her arc as well. She goes through a similar internal struggle that Emmy did, but from a different angle, because it's more of a, do I continue to do what I'm told even though my morals don't align? And are the people that are giving me the instructions really the good guys? I really liked that arc of hers, but also I love that she attempts to poison them with udon noodles. That was adorable. Yeah. But she continues to cook for them, and it's so funny because it's called out later. It's like, you didn't question that your brand new neighbor, who's a young attractive girl, just all of a sudden starts mothering all of you, that. No questions.
Well, but that was Mao saying it to her as you thought we didn't have any questions. I knew who you were the moment you showed up.
Well, they also show that everyone else knew, because they show Ushihara go to the fridge and open up her leftovers and be like, "It's got celestial force, but YOLO."
Yeah, exactly. So the only one who either didn't notice or didn't care was Ashia, who just kept eating
Ashia,
it and
yeah.
kept eating it and getting sicker.
We
and
have to get
sicker.
through this.
Yeah. So I love this character. I think, to me, her arc is what I would have liked for Emilia. In the sense of, she comes in and yeah, she's scouting him out, but she genuinely is trying to arrange to have him killed. Like, she's immediately saying, Emilia, join with me, let's kill him. As soon as Emilia, figures out who she is. And,
which is
and
hilarious
she even,
that she doesn't get
she doesn't get it right away. Yeah. And then later she actually does try to do it using her power. The conflict of her action is actually there. It's really well done, where enough information about where she came from, her history, how she was used, whether or not she should trust, like you were saying, Jason, the people who gave her missions, all of that builds up to be a very legitimate reason to look at him and say, I don't know what I should do now. I don't want to kill this guy. I think that I should not make this judgment call. I'm not qualified to do it. He seems like a good guy. And
are we the baddies?
Exactly, right?
You're right.
Yeah, and so I absolutely love this character. This is what I wanted Emilia to be. Plus, I also love how straight-faced she is about everything. Like, there's scenes where she's compared to the others in the sense of, like, you get it's a fun scene where everybody's having a good time. They're going down a water slide, right? And so it's like Chiho first, and she's yay, and then there's Emilia, and she's and then there's Susanoo, and that's all she does. And I absolutely love it. It's like she's just a complete downer on everything. Not because she's negative, just because she's always so analytical. This does not impress me. So love this character.
I did like her arc. The character herself, I could take her or leave her. She has some really great funny bits, but she doesn't work for me as well as some of the other characters. I do think there's a difference between her and Emilia in that she's an assassin and is used to shades of gray and morality. Even her whole thing is like, which side of the shade of gray am I on?
Yeah.
Whereas Emilia is, I am the hero. I can't kill in cold blood. I can only kill in defense and saving. Yeah, but she mostly worked for me. Not part of the ship though. Too
No.
late. Too late in the game. Susanoo, you're out.
Yep.
I love that line. It's a little celestial. YOLO.
Yeah.
So good.
In this episode, there's that Susanoo says to him, "Surely you can handle a little ginger," and he's like, "Don't call me Shirley." Great line.
So I do have a very quick question about her. She says that she learned everything about this world. How? How did she learn it?
Watching old movies.
What did she watch them on?
I assume she watched when she got there.
Yeah.
So
But she's
presumably
never seen
on
a TV.
Exactly, that's my question.
Maybe she read books, but she did call out
No,
movies.
no,
in the second-
movies. It was
Yeah,
specifically
movie
movies.
documentaries, old black and white ones.
Well, not documentaries. Those are samurai movies. Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
Wolf
I know
and
she
Cub.
called them documentaries though in the
Oh,
sub.
okay, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did in the dub as well.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
Okay.
it was just the size of the TV. Maybe it was the fact that it was flat that confused her. Like, oh, the big TV, it makes sense they can fit people inside of it.
Yeah,
But
maybe
not
she went to
the
like
flat ones.
one of those theaters that airs old movies, and
Oh yeah,
she thought it
yeah.
was a play.
I could
Or
see
maybe those monitors that Esmeralda have do go to our world, and she had one too that she could watch movies on.
that. It's still a TV. I mean,
That is still a TV. You're absolutely right. She'd be like, "Oh, they have these too."
right. That confused me when she explained that.
Also, the fact that it does upset me that Emmy's like, "Oh, that's a flat screen TV, you idiot!" Like, what did you think when you first saw it?
Yes.
In the same land. It's insane. All right, what happens in this episode? We get the scene of Emmy's like, "Oh, another girl that's falling in love with him." And she's like, "Are you after him?" And she's like, "Yes, I am. How did you know?" And she means I'm here to assassinate. And Emmy thinks, "Oh, she's in love." So they have a miscommunication there. then Kentucky Fried Chicken is opening across the street from McDonald's. Mao is getting his promotion, and then he gets a bento box from Susanoo. Now, is Susanoo trying to poison them with Celestial Force? Is that her whole why she's cooking
Yeah,
for them
she's
so
using
much?
the udon noodles to poison.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm.
Um,
I don't know why it's not working on him when it's working so well on Ashia.
you're right.
Maybe it's not just Celestial Force she's poisoning, but more so other stuff. And we don't see Mao and Lucifer eat as much as Ashia.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Lucifer hardly ever eats it.
I'm leaning towards Mao is not as hurt by Celestial Force as.
Yeah, I get that
That's
too.
possible.
Then we have the Chiho freaking out about the bento box from the Susanoo. It even calls Emmy about it. Great scene. Oh, and Emmy gets attacked by an assailant. It looks like a mugger, but is able
I
to
love how the
use-
mugger ran into the glass door and fell over.
This attacker can shoot lasers out of his eyes that, if it hits her celestial sword, will actually weaken it.
Not just it weakens her Celestial Force all
Yeah.
around.
Okay, I just realized this. He's got wings, right? Which we find out later, which makes him a bird, and birds fly into windows.
I like that.
That's why he flew
Yeah, I
into
like
the
that too.
window.
But then the store clerk comes out and starts throwing crud at him.
Yeah, threw a paintball of some kind. That was a huge paintball. I thought it was an orange.
Which is important because then we meet a character later who's clearly not the same guy, wearing glasses and a ton of cologne to cover that up. All right, so then they have breakfast all together at the apartment, and Emmy decides to take Susanoo shopping. This is where they first we get Chiho confessing her feelings to Mao, and Susanoo sees it, and then Susanoo goes shopping and confesses to Amelia that she's there to kill Mao. And
Then they have a fight about, what do you mean you didn't know?
Yeah. And she's like, "You're gonna help me kill her," and she's like, "No, I'm not gonna help the church. I'm gonna do this my way. I'm doing the way I wanted to do it. And here's a magazine. Figure out how to dress, you idiot." At work, they're losing customers to SFC, and that manager comes in, clearly the villain, and he flirts with Chiho. He's a creep. They send Ashia to SFC to order one of everything to spy on them. So later, when Amelia and her friends go there, they see Ashia there, and they're like, "I'll buy you anything you want if you tell us anything." And he immediately sits down, like, "Okay, here's everything."
He's like, no, I won't help you.
But if you give them away to save money, that overrides everything.
I absolutely loved the way he explained their relationship and their past to her Emmy's workmate, because it was all about. Okay, go ahead.
So Emmy's friend Rika meets Susanoo, and they start talking about Mao again. She's like, "Okay, we're gonna go stake out Mao." So they go to the SFC to come up with a game plan. That's where they meet Ashia, and she's like, "Okay, what is going on with all these relationships?" And so Ashia tells the story.
Yeah, in short, he basically says, Mao and I started a company, but Emmy was part of a rival company. and our company went under because of how great she was. But then there's very little explanation of why now she's in a call center if she was such a great business person. And Rika just buys it hook, line, and sinker. And she's just, because I think she's, she falls in love with Ozzy. But yeah, that whole, and then the stills that we get are drawn beautifully. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, after this, they then go over to the McDonald's, and Rika's yelling at Mao because McDonald's is so empty, the morale is low, and then they get.
You want to get shipped off to Greenland?
Yeah, they get shipped off to Greenland. They try all these different things, like trying to give out free burgers. Chiho becomes internet famous because of it. But he gets this tree delivery from a guy he works with when he volunteers to clean the park. And then they do a thing where, like, if you you can make a wish. If you get a wish, you get a free drink, and that brings in business. So then they get this huge long line. And hey, it's worked. We find out later we're told by Susanoo this was a spell inadvertently. The magic of the charms and stuff was a spell. Now that makes me think that Mao's magic does not have to be negative emotions. This would be very positive emotions. I think we're gonna get like a Monsters Inc. thing going on here. Like laughter's 10 times more powerful.
Oh God.
That, I think, is a hypothesis from her. I don't think she has any direct proof, and I think
Right.
this was just her hate for him that she's trying to turn.
Except
Go ahead.
the very end, the magic spell, the portal he created, goes to the McDonald's freezer because of the tree was covered in magic.
And there is purple in the air when they're showing the tree.
Oh, okay.
Because
Maybe he was
I
casting
didn't
a spell.
I didn't buy it either. Like, how would that even be a thing that worked? I don't remember a spell, but they specifically say, "Hey, this guy ended up in our freezer because of the trees outside still, and it had the magic left over from the spell."
Yeah.
So the tree had magic in it?
Yeah,
So that's possible.
That seems odd.
But
Because I thought it was from the emotions of people. I thought the mana was being drawn from people.
but I think the tree had residue, magic residue still on it.
Magically dirty.
Yeah. Possible. I doesn't seem right. Something's wrong. Can't tell what.
Maybe he's not just a thief.
Oh, okay. You might have something there.
Anyways.
Bikini episode. Mal
Yeah.
has to go work at a different McDonald's for a day, where everyone shows up in bikinis and they have bikini fun. And eventually, alligators get let loose, and he uses all the fear from the crowd to control the alligators and put them away. That's about it.
Yep.
But the best scene is when Chiho comes to order from him and doing
Yeah.
everything she can to get her huge tracts of land into his face, and he's like, "Yeah, the bikini looks nice, I guess."
He didn't even say
He
that.
didn't even
She
say
goes,
that.
Do you like it? And he's like, yeah,
Oh,
this
the
festival's
right.
really great.
Yeah. Certainly more customers or a different group of customers than we get.
Yeah,
at the
because he
station
thought
we're
she
at.
was talking about. Oh, that's right. He thought he was talking about the locate, like the burger joint.
Yep. I thought the monkey was very contrived, like the way the keys
Oh,
were. I was
100%.
like, oh my god. Scare the guy, he drops the keys, the monkey gets away, then the monkey gets the keys, unlocks the alligators, and the alligators come out to play. Like, good grief.
So they get a delivery from the landlady of stuff to sell that she's picked up in Hawaii. She wants them to sell like the next bazaar. So they all work together to get it set up. Al goes to work. Ashia gets so sick, Lucifer actually has to call an ambulance to come get him, which he's not sure is covered by insurance.
You know, Alciel is
Really
actually
is.
mentioned as being able to influence economics. So I really like that they used that
that's
particular name
such a
for
skin flip.
such a
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Yeah.
See what else happens. So yeah, he's in the hospital. Susanoo reveals to Chiho, like, I'm gonna kill Mao. Chiho yells at her and is like, no, you have no right. You don't know what you're talking about. He's a great guy. You didn't know him back then, and I've known him now, so I know him better. But then the bad guy, whose name is actually Ariel.
You make a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, she basically asks into Isla, did you ever meet or confront the Demon King? Did you even get a chance to speak with him or like confront him? And no, she's always worked from the shadows doing smaller jobs.
Yeah. She's also has met up a couple times now with Sariel. Same guy as the manager of the SFC. Even though we find out he's not really a manager, he's fake that to get.
Oh, that's right. Lucifer finds out that he doesn't
Lucifer
exist.
does some hacking. And so Sariel and Susanoo capture Chiho, but because they had and Emmy, so he's been trying to get the Celestial Sword back from Emmy. The Angels don't want her to have it anymore; they want it back.
Is it just him, or is he claiming that
And
all of heaven wants it back? We don't know.
Who knows at this point?
Yeah.
Right. And also, how can he get more power from the moon if, like, it's not the same moon as into Isla? Is it any moon? Is it just starlight? Because the day would be more powerful than moonlight.
I like how if he just goes up a couple 100 feet, it has a huge impact on his power. The scale
Right.
of distance to the moon, I don't feel like he got that much closer to it.
Yep.
Well, he makes a portal to make it closer, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't, but someone does.
Oldo does or whatever.
Oldo.
Oldo man.
Oldo man.
Which is a trick. Get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Shiho makes a call. Mao doesn't answer it, but her mom calls him, and then he finds out because Lucifer has put a tracking device in Emmy's purse. So then he finds out, oh, they're all being taken to the town center. So he gets on his bike with a mop, and he goes flying down the road until he hits a magical barrier. And then Olba wakes up in the same hospital Ashia's in. He ends up attacking Ashia and stealing his insurance card, which leads him to their house so he can talk to Lucifer. He's like, okay, let's get you into heaven. I got a plan. He drinks some of the celestial force and casts the spell that brings the moon down.
How did he know that's what it was? I mean, maybe it says it on the bottle, but like, how did he even think that?
It does say it on the bottle.
Well, how did he find it? Like, I don't know. That was weird.
Well, he had Emmy's purse.
I guess I
And Emmy had a bottle in there.
Purse.
Yeah.
How did he get Emmy's purse? Where did she leave it? That he got it from?
She must have. Well, they have the tracker. She must have dropped it when she got kidnapped.
Oh,
where the
so
tracker
they used the tracker to find the purse.
No, because they used the tracker to find out where she went to.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, Susanoo goes to kill Mao. So he strips down to his underwear.
Because he doesn't want to hurt them.
Which is a little bit weird, because he's been in his underwear half this anime. He's never wearing pants in his apartment. Everyone else wears pants in his apartment. Not him. He is pants free in his apartment.
It's his castle. He can go pantsless if he wants.
There's also someone else who is always
shorts
pants free
of some kind.
Huh?
To be clear, he's not like nude. He's wearing pants. They're just
boxers.
Boxers, yeah.
He's wearing
They
boxers.
could be shorts. They may not be just boxers that he's wearing in
I'm
the...
almost sure there's boxers.
Maybe.
And
They're
there's
definitely
another
boxers in
character
this scene.
who's always in their underwear, and it's the same boxers. There's another character always in their underwear in their apartment, and that's Emmy. So
That's true.
They would have a pants-free home. Good for them. They got together.
The only way to do it.
Anyway, he gets his butt kicked, but he's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. And she's like, I'm stopping you. He's like, no, you're not. And you could have, but you want me to go out there and save them, which is why this whole thing is happening. You set this up. You let Shiho make the phone call for help. So I'm going to go do that. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm a good guy now. And there's this great scene where the bad guy's like torturing Emmy, starts unbuttoning her shirt to get to her skin to rip the sword out. And Chiho's like, leave her alone. He's like, I'm not interested in flat chest here, but you I'm going to have some fun with. And then Emmy's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
I'm going to kill you.
I'm
so going to kill you.
Well, no, she's like, that's Mao's employee. And Mao always looks out for his employees.
Mm-hmm.
You're in big trouble.
Oh, I was cracking up at the fact that as he was saying, I'd be more interested in you than in her. She's flat. In the subs, it says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. That cracked me up.
I don't remember if she said that, but yeah, she just goes into this big rant about Mao's going to get you. He's like, why? He cares so much about this human? She's like, no, that's his employee. And they make Ronalds. They value their employees. So then it shows him, and he's walking up the stairs. And he's like, "Oh, there's so many stairs." But he gets there, faces the bad guy. That guy's like, "I'm close to the moon. You can't beat me." He gets blasted a bunch of times. He's like, "Nope, I'm still gonna win." And then Olba does his spell, which brings the moon down and really powers up the bad guy. But this was all Lucifer's plan to create fear, which it does. And so, Mao gets his full powers back.
I love it. He turns to Olba and he's like, hey, can I have Emmy's purse? He's like, yeah, sure. Why? And he's putting it on. He's like, oh, because she's going to be pissed if I don't get it back to her. He's like, wait, you didn't actually join me.
I love the idea that the enemy that you're facing feeds off fear. And so all the things that you could do, they're like big ultimate spells that would freak
Are
out
just
the
gonna power them
population.
up.
Yeah, they're gonna power your enemy up. Like that's a really cool situation to put the characters in. Like, how do you beat that?
So then Mao has his battle with the enemy, turns his broom into his giant sword, and beats him. I do love the trick where he turned himself into Chiho because he knew the guy would go after Chiho as a hostage, and he's like, nope, it's me. Smashes him.
Surprise!
Yeah,
I
he
do
wins.
like that Mao has his own celestial sword, if you will. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's very cunning. I was shocked that he was actually pretending to be that character. I kept waiting for Chiho to do something spectacular because of the way she's presented in the OP, right? She's not just an archer in the OP, she does a bullseye. Though it seems like you're telling me that she has some kind of prowess. I don't see it in the anime. I kept looking for it. When is she going to do
It's not
something?
there, don't worry.
Oh.
At one point, he has to catch Emmy from falling off the building, and she's like so tired. She's just like, "My hero." He's like, "Oh, you're not okay."
Right.
He defeats the bad guy, and he's talking to Emmy, and they start insulting each other again. And he's like, "I don't care about your flat tits," and she's like, "You got flat tits." Might be one of the best lines in anime. That was a great one. He uses his magic to fix everything again, which leaves him powerless. Oh, and then Ashia shows up with his cape because he had to go home first. Yep.
He's like, the battle's already over.
The final episode is about both Chiho. Chiho has a dream that Mao leaves back home to the magical land, and Emmy has a dream that Mao turns evil again. And then they decide to both spy on him because him and Ashia are getting time off. Then they find out they've been temp workers because Lucifer's been ordering online so much. It's the trackers specifically. The tracking devices he bought cost them too much, and they have to make up the money. So they took temp jobs. And then
she smashes one, of course.
She smashes one. And then she's like, well, what about all the deliveries you were mysteriously getting at your house? He's like, wait, what? And then you find out Lucifer got even more stuff. He actually got scammed, and we have this whole, they're trying to get the scam back. Ashia is actually working for that company. He's the guy on the phone who's like, no, you can't return those items. That was a great bit. But yeah, they are like, oh, but on a technicality, Lucifer's technically 18, and he has to be 20 years old to sign the contract, so they got out of it. It was a lot of the episode.
I love the expression that Mao has as the guy's driving away. He's just got like this big, smile. I beat you grin.
And then we get a scene of Mao and Ashia at a restaurant, and they order Cat Doom, the very first
Cat's
meal
Doom.
they had.
That's right.
Yeah, when they were at the police station. And then we get another scene of Emmy meeting Mao in the rain and giving him an umbrella to replace the one he had given her, which he had thrown in the garbage because it was from a demon.
Yeah, and that was actually a really nice conclusion.
Yeah, and really seems to solidify that she's the romantic pairing here.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think Chiho is just got a bit of an infatuation that'll disappear as the seasons go on. Sure.
Not if his power level rises, then, that sliding scale.
That scale.
It will keep going. Well, but you see, the other girl has her own sliding scale.
Okay, final reviews.
Final reviews. Jason, your pick. What do you give it?
I have a little bit of a bias for the nostalgia factor. I give this a 5. It was funny. I don't find too many technical issues with it. Yes, it does have some story holes here and there, but I absolutely adore this anime. The comedy always gets me, and it's 100% charming.
All right, Jeremy, what'd you think?
I really liked it. I'm going to give it a 4. I do think that it has a few minor technical things and some areas where you kind of have to make some connections and do a little bit of headcanon to explain things away that I would have liked if they wrote it with a little bit more clarity in those areas. But if that's something that they're going to deal with in season 2 or season 3, I mean, I'm all for that slow reveal of these things. So that is kind of tentative. It could be a 5 if they actually deal with those things later. Love the characters, and one of the other things that this show kind of reminded me of is how when you're playing an RPG and sometimes you get to recruit the bad guy, and you always wonder, like, how are the dynamics? How do the characters get along? How can you work with this guy when he was the villain up to this point? I'm thinking of like Chrono Trigger and stuff. And this is kind of how I imagine it, where like you have this uneasy truce where they're still bickering, and it's very cute. So definitely a 4 for me.
So I think as a comedy, it's working as a 5, but as like just a story, it's probably at a 3. So I'm gonna give it a 4. But I think it's the perfect palate cleanser. I think this is a great one to put on and just relax and not think too hard about the dynamics of. We did, and that's what we do. But I think if you're worrying about Satan's genocidal past, you're taking it too seriously, and then maybe itself is taking itself too seriously because it's doing the jokes very well. It's very charming. It needs to lean into that, so I'll give it a 4. All right, and so you know what's next? More of this, but from a different studio. So we're going to be watching season 2, which is much newer, and we'll see how that hits us. I know there's some big changes, life changes coming down the road if you've seen any of the previews, and so we'll be checking in with Mal and the game.
And it will connect Emmy and Mao more than you know. Anyways.
All right. If you have any thoughts, please do not spoil season 2 for us if you can help it. But if you have any thoughts, please feel free to reach out to us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or you can contact us through our website, theanimebakaclub.com. You can contact us, link, or leave a comment wherever you found the podcast, and then it'll get back to us as well. And with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.